Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hyperconscious Podcast. Alan, what is hyperconscious?
Once you understand why something is the way that it is, now you have the power to change it. Great conversations with great people and great questions are the keys to the kingdom of unlocking your consciousness.
Every single action that you do starts as a thought. When you control the way you think, you will control the way you act, and you will control the way you live. That is hyperconscious. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of the Hyperconscious Podcast. Alan and I were lucky enough to sit down once again with the amazing Isabella Picard and Allie Bradian. So, a lot of people know about Isabella Picard and her story, Bring Back the Right Side, how she was involved in an accident. For a long time, the person she was involved in the accident with was just a girl. That girl is Allie Bradian. So we were lucky enough to sit down with both of them. They kind of told the story of how it happened, but this is mostly for context. Isabella has been recording episodes, the Bring Back the Right Side diary, where she goes into further detail about the accident. Her and Allie actually sit down and have an emotional exchange about it. So just to give context, that's where you can find out more about that. But this episode was absolute fire.
We get to sit down with them, and it got very emotional. At one point, we were kind of like, wow, this is actually happening. At one point, Isabella was just someone that Kevin followed on Instagram, and now she's a close friend of ours. And then to bring Allie into our circle and to see them two connect on such a deep level live on the podcast, unstaged, and just going deep was truly unbelievable. But again, Isabella and Allie came out of this, unfathomable adversity better off than they went into it. It took years of overcoming emotional hurdles, mental hurdles, and physical hurdles, and now they are closer friends and they're both stronger individuals than ever.
At the end of the rep, they both said that it felt like a therapy session to them. They felt like they really, really created a new beginning that they were going to journey on together. So, super dope rep. One of my favorites of all time, and we hope you will enjoy.
Talk to you soon.
Bye. No. Geographically? Geographically. This is cool. So I would say make sure that pretty face is shown.
Yes, true.
They're going to want to see that thing. They're going to want to see that thing, Alan. That face. You good? Ready? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of the Hyperconscious Podcast. For those of you who can see us, we have a guest that we have had 2 times already. So if you are a listener, an avid listener, you will know Isabella Picard. Now, we know that Bella was involved in an accident. This is the girl that was involved in the accident with her that most people didn't know for a long time. So we're going to sit down here, go deep. We went super deep in the preamble about all things life.
Oh, yeah.
Everything. You excited to do this or what?
Very much.
I want to start, first of all, before we even get into it, Alan and I were talking about this before. When we first podcasted with Bella, I saw her on Instagram. I think we talked about this before. I was in a crusty hotel room in New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, imagine if we could podcast with her. And now, we're legitimate friends, which is proof to me that if you really want something, you can figure out a way to, get that something. It's like you were sitting on that couch 2 weeks ago hanging out. And now it's just strange to me.
And you saw Kevin puke.
That was a couple months ago, but yeah, we partied too hard.
Yeah.
So,
and by we, you mean you.
So how are you ladies doing?
Wonderful. I'm a little chilly.
You want me to turn the heat up?
No.
Oh.
I'm
Allie?
great.
How you doing?
I'm good.
All right.
It's nice to be up here. It's freezing up here compared to New Jersey.
Negative 20?
Yeah, it's going to be
You said
negative
that?
20 today. We're nice and warm in here.
Yeah.
But hey,
sure.
negative
We
20
are.
wind,
Like
Wind
today.
chill.
feels like?
Yeah.
How are you doing it?
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into, I want to know, for a long time, nobody knew who you were. And it was kind of your story, right? There was the Isabella Picard story of what happened. What is it like for you now to kind of be out in the open and to be able to express the emotions that you kind of held back for so long because you didn't have an outlet? Like, you were just a person. Nobody knew what happened to you, right? So what is it like now, having such a big relationship with her, being so close, you guys are working together now, like, what is it like for you to be able to express yourself fully and everybody know, like, this is what I went through?
It's
long question.
No. That was necessary. It's really like a breath of fresh air, honestly, in terms of finally being able to get something off your chest that was just sitting there for so long. And Bella and I have talked about it a lot, that no one really knew from my end, like, as you mentioned, and it was kind of in the dark, and it almost made me think that it didn't happen sometimes. And I talked before with her about how I almost would feel guilty that I wasn't actively thinking about it. But again, if you don't have people around you kind of like asking you if you're okay or reminding you that things are going on, and the only outlet I really had to her was Instagram. But you have to recognize how intense that accident was. For me to be just another person on Instagram watching her was probably the hardest part.
Interesting.
That I couldn't be in her life, or just at least have her know me as me and really get to know me. And like, at least I could know how she was doing actually, and like, on a deeper body level and on a deeper mind level. And not having that was hard. And again, and I also told her that I had to unfollow her on Instagram for a while, because it was so hard for me, and I felt guilty doing it, but I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't talk to her, or at least it just wasn't even like something that I felt was even ready to happen. So for me to sit with that for so long, and I had really good friends, and the guy I was dating at the time was really great with that, and he was my outlet. And I'm thankful for that every day, that I had him to express those feelings, because it's just a hard thing to talk about. And even my teammates and my coaches and my childhood friends who really didn't know about it, and my parents surprisingly knew way less about it than they had it thought. It was hard to find people to listen, or to find people to like surround myself with that would comfort me. So a lot of times it was a lot of a self-comforting. And luckily for me, that was the year after I had just really had this big awakening with myself. So I was kind of at a good place to where that happened, and I think I was able to deal with it. But if it had happened at any different time, I don't know how it would have went. But so for me, it's good now to be able to talk about it and have people really understand me and really be able to hear my side, and then eventually have me feel on a deeper level that this isn't just Bella's story, it's our story.
What is it like for you? Because it's kind of, when it happened, and this is from my perspective, if that happens, you assign a meaning to Allie. Like, the meaning is, that's the girl that I slid into.
Yeah.
Right? So what is your relationship like now, and how did it evolve from the girl that I slid into to the two bubbly girls we're sitting in, you guys are cracking jokes about each other? And how did that happen?
No, like, the day I got to the hospital, that moment, it was, well, how did it happen? And it's Allie, she's a part of my story from the very beginning. This wouldn't have happened without you. And like, so she's just always been that girl. And, my family, and especially just like close family, would always ask, like, have you talked to the other girl or whatever? And I'm always like, well, she sent a letter. Yeah. Like,
But like, also no doubt the other girl.
Right.
And that was was the shift that probably not a year ago, like April, like right after.
Yeah.
Like probably a few weeks after that meeting we had where we met up for the first time.
So that's where, when we met up, like, that was the moment I was like, it's not that girl, this is Allie.
And it didn't happen for me.
And it helped me.
Right then.
It helped me so much, because it was like, I guess, it's not even a breath of fresh air. It was an inhale. It was like just an inhale. of finally like every part of my diaphragm was like
good oxygen.
yes, and it was because the air, maybe I felt I was breathing all the time without Allie, just her being that girl. It was like my story like wasn't complete, and it's just crazy that you turned out to be like cool.
And from the way you're kind of cool. No, and for me, it took. So we had the meeting on the 3-year anniversary, and then we had a phone call probably a month after that, where I had just gone to church, and I was like, I called her. I was like, I need to talk to you right now. She's like, why? And I was actually a little upset. I was like, I know you forgive me, but I'm still having issues with this forgiveness thing, and I don't want to view you as the girl whose neck I broke anymore. And again, you say that, or I, as in me, I've said that over the years, and people's first instinct is, oh, well, it wasn't your fault. I'm like, well, no, duh.
You don't get into
it. It wasn't my fault, but you don't know what it feels like to play a role in changing someone's life so drastically. Right. So for the longest time, she was just the girl whose neck I broke. Yeah. And I said it so harshly because even when I said, I could have said it nicely. I was like, oh, I could have said over the years, oh, it was like the girl I collided with.
Right.
But that's how she paralyzed. She got paralyzed on her right side. Yeah. But I said, this is the girl whose neck I broke because I felt so harsh about it. And it was just like something so deep. And when you're holding something that painful so deep for so long,
you just want to get the most basic truth out there.
Yeah. And then again, because no one was really talking to me about it or mentioning it, it kind of got hidden. And then when it came up and I was like, she's cool. Yeah. I don't want her to view her just that. So I called her and I said, I was just in church and I finally think that I recognize that I'm ready to accept your forgiveness, which sounds weird. And like she laughed about that afterwards when we mentioned it. But what I was saying is she was so willing to give that to me. And because I couldn't forgive myself for something that was an accident, I wasn't able to accept hers.
Like she was
So for the second that I was able to like forgive myself for that and recognize, hey, this isn't fake. She's not like yanking your chain over here. She actually wants to be your friend. And then now we're best friends and I would consider you someone that's going to be in my life forever. Right. And to be able to do that and think about that is just so happy because it was such an intense moment. And now it's just like, here we are. She's my best friend.
I was like, no, literally, like, you don't have to worry. Like, I forgive you entirely and I don't even feel the need to. And I remember her just being like, I know, but it's just, and then you were like, it's
shut
myself.
up.
It's myself. It's myself. I have to forgive myself. And I'm like, yes. And like, we were just like, yeah.
And then the drive up here too, I was saying to my friends, oh, I'm going to do a podcast with my really good friend. And they're like, oh, who? And I'm like, Bella. And they're like, wait, like, Bella? And I'm like, yeah, my friend.
Yeah.
Like,
so that's a good thing too now is like, now that we're apart, like, we're fine. It's like our story. It's like, it's just like, she's like my friend. Oh yeah, my friend.
And this isn't fake either. And it's funny how because I could see somehow maybe from an outside perspective, people like, no way.
No, I can attest to that for sure.
Like, no way.
Everything on social media, unfortunately, it's so corrupt by staging shit and stuff. And it's
no, you're good.
When people finally like see like a genuine like, whoa, it's like people are like almost like
But I think even from my standpoint, it's like I wonder how I would feel. If I slid into somebody, I don't know if I would be as understanding as you. And that's just me being honest. I don't know. I don't know if I would be like, yeah, you know, you're forgiven. I don't know how I would feel.
Well, it definitely took a lot of steps.
Yeah,
for sure.
And
I
think the big point for us is that, because again, at first when you're talking, you just meet someone, you're tiptoeing around it. But then when we got to the deep conversations where we actually started to talk like about this on a deeper level, she had said, what did you say? That the reason I forgive you so intensely, Allie, after getting to know you and who you are as a person, is because I know that if the roles were reversed, you would do the same damn thing. And same vice versa. And I was like,
maybe like,
and I think that was where I recognized, like, I'm not just seeing her as a person, I'm seeing her as like a soul. And
I
like
remember you said that too. You said we were in the car at in Newton. Remember? That is when I lost the GoPro.
And I was like, I'm seeing your soul now. Like I'm feeling you.
She was like, it was weird. I've never like ever had someone like do that. Like she was almost like stopped by like a invisible force. It was weird. And it did the thing.
It did the thing.
And she was just like for the first time, I'm seeing you as like you. And like, remember we were
Yeah,
like,
and I was like, I'm not
do
just
I look
seeing you-
different? Like,
Do you mean seeing you as you instead of seeing an event? I'm seeing you
Yes,
as you.
yes. It's just
exactly.
me.
Instead
That's
of seeing her
powerful.
as a collision, I'm
Yeah.
seeing her as like
Bella.
just someone I'm hanging out with.
Yeah.
To where the next weekend, or not next week, but what was
I
it?
don't
2 months
know.
ago when I was
we
here.
tried round 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and I'm like sleeping over at her house.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
today it was so funny. I instead of knocking on her door, like she didn't even know when I was coming, and she always says, just barge in." I'm
Yeah.
like, no. And I've been at her house probably 3 times now, and I just barged in because I didn't think anyone was going to be there. And her brother and her dad are just like, what? And it's just funny that it's gotten to that point,
Yeah.
and we laugh about
They're
it
like,
now.
"Ah,"
That
yeah, like it's so
that
we
I'm
have
at
to
your
stop
house.
and look at each other, and like sometimes we geek ourselves out because I'm like,
why are you
why
here?
are you in my bed?
Like, no, but seriously,
But it's like, like, and then I just like revert back to just like, oh my gosh, like
and those moments haven't stopped, and I think I'm blessed because it kind of puts things in perspective.
Yes.
It's like it makes us recognize,
constant.
look how far we've come.
Yeah.
Right.
But we still have like the little child in us is like, oh
Together.
God, we did
Yes.
something bad, but we're
Yes,
still
it
friends.
is. It's like
Yeah.
that childhood. I'm like, I got a boo-boo and you're sad. And like, but like that is going to be the constant engine. That's just always kind of like helping project the cool Aurora,
My goodness.
Right. So the way you expressed holding something in for so long on this podcast, the listeners will attest to this. I always say the suppression of self-expression leads to depression. I feel like we all need outlets to express ourselves with our loved ones, our family, with each other. One thing that I suppressed for such a long time without knowing it, and this is the one way I can relate to you with what you just said, is my father passed away when I was 2, and I think for the longest time, every time I would bring that up, it would get weird, and the energy would get down, and also for a long time, I had a stepdad for 13 years, and for whatever reason, we didn't talk about my dad because that was a reminder that my stepdad wasn't my dad, and it was this whole thing, and so in the last probably 4 to 5 years, I've really started to reflect. And I remember I asked my ex-girlfriend, Alyssa, who I was with for 4.5 years. She was one of my first serious girlfriends, one of my first. And I talked to her. We reflected, and I said, what did you notice about me? I was trying to get feedback. And she said, I noticed you never talked about your dad. And so when I did finally start to open that part of me up, I feel like it made me able to become more. And I had so many overwhelming moments of like pain, but it was like honest tears. It was like honest pain. It was like a release of emotion rather than.
That's
And is that how you guys felt when you started
Yes.
to? I'm assuming there have been several like sessions of like crying it out, but
There
in the
were
best way.
we've cried together.
I almost cried before this even started.
Yeah, I know,
At that
right?
moment.
And it's like, yeah,
Because it's so much suppressed, and it's all coming out. It's like the waterworks.
I've said, and I think you'll agree with me. Wink your right eye once if you agree, left eye if you don't. I've said things to you before that I don't even think I've said to myself, like about this injury.
Can you wink?
That's
The right yeah. I'm like, I don't know.
Wait,
if
I thought there was gonna be more.
No,
Right.
like that goes to show like how much was suppressed. Is like
Right.
I've said things to you that the only other person maybe God like it's
Right.
and that release. Oh dear goodness.
How do people know when they're holding on to things? Because I didn't really know I was until after. And I'm like, oh, wow, that was all in me. Like, have you ever seen a movie
Yeah.
that touched your soul and you start bawling your eyes out
Oh,
like
yeah.
like a 3-year-old
'Cause it
and
touched.
it's like hysterical crying. And then after that, you feel so euphoric. You feel like you released something and now you can be more of yourself,
that.
your authentic self. So how do we get people to
That's why we created Chapter 1. That literally was the result of that.
to move on from past trauma?
Yeah, that's
Right?
literally what I
To
said. I'm
empower
like, dude, we
people.
have to do something.
I-
And you were like, yeah, and it was like raining. I was like, hit me. we were like,
What was it like
but
when
we were just
you
bawling our eyes out like 2 seconds before.
What
Right.
was it like when you first? So you did, for those who don't know, Bring Back the Right Side, Chapter 1. Was it?
Yeah, Bring Back the Right Side Diary. So Chapter 1.
What was it like the first time you guys sat down next to each other and turned a camera on and said, "All right, we're going to talk
We
about this shit"?
procrastinated for how long? 3 hours?
We didn't start the videos
8
until
o'clock at night.
I thought it was later. I thought it was like 9.
You're right.
It was like 9 going on 10, and we did it though. I remember we were procrastinated and trying to plan it out so perfectly. Started at 10 and ended at 11:30,
Yeah.
and we both looked at each other like, that was so successful.
Yeah.
And we thought this was going to take all day.
But
and
we literally dragged that day out, and we both knew it. We even said it too, like
We didn't wanna
I was like,
face
we
it.
gotta go to a second Best Buy now, and we were like, that was when we were kind of finally realized. I'm like,
if
dude,
we want to move
if
past
wanna
this, we
do
got to.
we just have to do it. Like,
Who initiated?
what do you mean?
Probably me because I'm
Oh,
the more organized
definitely.
one,
Yeah.
for
Oh,
sure.
yeah. My brain
Oh, are
is in
you?
900 different. I know.
No,
Look at me.
she spits out all the ideas. I feed off of her ideas,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, okay, let's organize this.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, we got this later. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, like we need to do it now.
Clouds and dirt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's me and Alan.
Yeah.
That's me and Alan.
Makes
It's
sense.
you guys have a very unique thing. It's fun.
Right.
It's so fun. We had probably an hour preamble where we were just shooting the shit before this.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was very interesting. So you said, Allie, you said that you didn't feel supported. Like you didn't have anybody you could confide in, really.
And the way you word that, it sounds a little bad. It's
Okay.
not like
Yeah.
my friends and my family are amazing. Like I can confide in them in everything. But when something like this, so emotionally deep that you feel as though you can't put into words and have someone else other than the other person even fathom understanding,
Right.
I felt like I didn't have the support because I didn't think anyone else would understand.
Do you think if you had, so I'll reframe it. Do you think if you had somebody that understood fully, this whole thing would be happening right now?
That's interesting.
Well, we just kind of said, I don't think so. And I think that
Yeah, no, we had to find.
that's
each
so
other, I think.
important almost because
Yeah.
we didn't how do I want to word this? Okay, so we, instead of having someone to really confide in, for me, I confided in myself a lot. I told my ex a lot of things, and he was great. But again, a lot of it I held deep. But imagine if I did have someone to talk to, and like the people I was playing on the field with every day, they were constantly like, hey, how are you about this?
Yeah.
Maybe I wouldn't have been so
I doubt
driven
it.
and drawn to contacting her
I doubt. Yeah.
and really taking this to a deeper level in terms of really wanting to know how she was, because she almost became, and then eventually did become, my outlet of support in this, which is ironic because you would never think that the person in
Right.
life
Yeah.
that you
Interesting.
messed
But
up
little
would be your
But
support.
the behind the scenes leading up to that, like I was having all these like revelations and aha moments and like paralyzed for 6 months until I could finally spend my time moving more. And a lot of this, like forgiveness and just like you being able to have me as an outlet was because of the manifestation and everything I did prior to that. You know what I mean?
So it was almost as if she had a lot of alone time. I had a lot of alone time. And I
Yeah.
think that if we didn't, and again, we both had the support of our family and like our closest friends. But
Right.
I mean, if we didn't have that alone time to really think and sit, and she had that month of clarity
Yeah.
or 6 months of clarity, and then I finally reached out, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if she didn't. Maybe she would have pushed me away because
I know I probably
and
would
if
have
she,
been a bitter
yeah. And if I
Person.
had that
Bob.
support, maybe
A bitter Bob.
or if let me rephrase it. If I would have allowed myself to have support in the way that I thought I needed it at the time, if I would have allowed myself, I don't think that I would have been able to sit with this as deeply and then learn so much at the end of it.
for sure.
Where I wouldn't have come this far to where I'm best friends with her, because maybe my other friends would have coddled me in a good way, though. And I mean that as in
Yeah.
like, because that's what I needed. Like that was a
Right.
traumatic thing. I needed someone to just like sit there
Right.
and make sure that I was okay. But instead I was forced to really face it.
It's almost like you could have got
Literally,
100 people's support. And I'm sure you did. Like
Yeah.
you said, you had people's support, but the support you really needed was hers, because she's the
And I
only
didn't know
person
that.
could ever understand what you were going through.
And I had no
that
idea.
was the same with me, because like once I thought I had it all, like like my relationship with God and just like where I was at, and like the platform I had, and like just my drive to help people, and like I feel like, what was I just talking about? Oh my god!
So for her, she really, really needed you. You were the only person that could understand
Like I
how
had
she was
support,
feeling.
but I didn't allow those people to help me the way I thought I
Oh,
needed
right.
it.
My whole point was going to be is I thought I was set until connecting with you. I started. It was like it's like something started fluttering up again.
Yeah.
That it
Something
was weird.
uncovered
Yeah,
that was
it was
buried.
weird that I haven't felt like since I was like back like in the hospital and like my first stages of outpatient therapy, and then I realized it was because there was things I had to let out that only she had to hear and respond to, and it was
And the craziest part is
really
that
weird.
the way our personalities are and the way we gel so much.
Yeah.
I would have never expected that. But
Me
that's like the
neither.
biggest beauty of this is she's not just somebody
Yeah.
that understands the situation and can feel
Right.
it too and give me advice back on that on how to handle
Right.
it. It's as though it's like we joke about it, like our souls are on the same level
They really
to where
are.
we see each other as souls and not people. And
Yeah.
that's some people won't understand that. And that probably sounds a little corny, but I mean it.
It's so true.
And she gets it. I'm sure you guys get it.
Yeah.
I think it's because we always saw each other as like that person, and when you say person, it's like you see a body and a shell and an identity, and it's like, I'm sorry, it's hard to think of you like that because it's hard.
You know what? And it's actually, this is great. The most beautiful thing about this
Yeah.
is that imagine if we did just know each other as people first.
Yeah.
Maybe we wouldn't even have been friends. Maybe I would have been like, oh, she's she's just too into herself and
Right,
I'm just
yeah.
too like involved in studying. Like we probably would have never really been friends.
No.
Right? So for
Probably
then
not.
what you had mentioned earlier was we're not just seeing each other as people. Like at the time, for the longest time, it was just seeing each other as the collision.
Right.
Which I think is what needed to happen.
yeah.
She was just a body that was there. I didn't know her personality. And then when we finally did, we got to know each other as different people that we were prior. And now these new people
Yeah.
that we've formed into have like caused this beautiful friendship that like.
But that's how the world is, isn't it? It's everyone sees the physicality of the
yeah.
situation.
You
They
assign a
can
meaning.
never-
You assign a meaning to something.
Yes, it's like you will always, like categorize that with that, and it's always that idea with that action. When it's why can't people say that event or that idea with that thought? Like I don't know why. Like that's how I see it now. It's
Me
like,
too. Now I do. But at the time, like
Right.
it was.
But
in a
that's
lot
only
of things,
because we
though.
got to know each other. If we didn't,
Yeah.
then I would still probably see you as like the collision.
See,
Collision.
I feel. Remember, when we were in Florida, we sat down with an interventionist, Evan Jarschauer, and he said something about. I was talking about my father. I didn't have a relationship with my father for. I saw him a year ago for the first time in 24 years or something like that. But Evan said, "I think you really need to get closure," and the meaning I've assigned to my father was kind of a piece of shit, like for lack of a better term, and I don't know him. I just know the lack of him makes me feel that way about him, right? So in this moment, I'm having that like, I think I'm fucking up. I think I
Yeah.
should probably go figure that
Because you're
out.
defining him by that event.
Yeah, and like who knows what I could learn
Wow,
from him.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So I wanted to share
That's
that
really
with you
No,
guys
that
and the
is
listeners.
yeah.
What do you
makes,
got?
it makes sense because you're uncovering some deeper things that you don't even necessarily know are
Because
there
of
until
this.
they're talking.
Right.
And that's the beauty of this is you guys empower your story, that whole thing, and then taking what appeared to be your worst day and making something more meaningful and more powerful out of it. I think that's everything. And we were talking before in the preamble about like being grateful every single day and how like people like you and people like Eric LeGrand and then like your part in this as well. Like, and we mentioned Eric's like who tackled Eric, we don't know. And it's like, I think they've talked as well. But coming out of something that traumatic that most people couldn't even fathom and then seeing you two now is the most empowering thing ever.
Right.
It's the most empowering thing ever. It's literally like, I feel like I could do anything. Because if you guys can go through that
Yeah.
and get here together, like that's
I-
everything.
You just remind me of something my mom would always say. My mom, Bella, like what you can do, with your positivity, and a lot of people would want to just kind of give up, and I know you're sad, and I was just talk about loss of identity, and
All right.
and my mom always said, God's going to make you a blessing to this world. He will. And I eventually, like 2 years into my recovery, I'm like, yeah, you know what, Ma? Like, yeah, okay. I didn't know what my mom obviously didn't know at the time. That blessing was when she came into the picture. Like, I was like, oh. I was like, oh, that big, God? Really? Like, you really want to go big? Like, I was just saying, like, maybe I can help little Junior, Jerry over here. Like,
Junior Jerry.
Junior Jerry know that, like, hey, man, like, shoot
Fall
for
down,
the
get back
stars.
up.
Yeah, shoot for
right.
the stars. There's a lot of people with leg braces on who can't do those things, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm someone who is one of them, and you'll find a way. And quite frankly, it's fun trying to find a way because we get to adapt. Who else gets to adapt to the world?
Right.
Like,
Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you were enjoying this episode with Allie Bradian and Isabella Picard. Friendly reminder, the website is up and live, and we did a little revamping. So now when you go to www.thehyperconsciouspodcast.com, at the very top of the page, you will see a button that says Join Our Mailing List. If you hammer that, you will get 3 Hyperconscious morning minutes a week.
And that's the awesome thing. You're going to kickstart your days right. Your days form into your years, form into the tapestry of your life. We want to be in your ear in the morning to keep you motivated. I personally listen to motivational YouTube videos every morning, and we want to be there for you.
Think we should get back in the episode?
I think so.
All right, guys. Enjoy.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
It's fun to find a way.
Right?
I like that.
How
It
do you
is.
stay motivated, especially now? Because you show up today, it's 20, I can't see, probably 20 degrees out with the wind. It's probably like 10.
Yeah.
And I know like that sucks for you.
it's very disheartening.
Yeah. So how do you show up as the Bella that we know?
Want to know how?
Yeah.
Because the memory of being paralyzed in that bed and just the smell of hand sanitizer motivates me because it smells like the hospital. And like all those feelings and just thoughts and just the reality of like oh my gosh, like, okay, this isn't just a cold. You're not going to wake up and feel a little better. Like, it's that motivates me because I wake up today, it's cold as turkey balls and I have a lot of nerve pain in the cold. I mean, it is instantaneous with wind especially. And I just have to Belle, like, look at your freedom, look at your independence, like everything that you've figured out that so many people are struggling to do with a disability. It's like you can just live your life, like you can just be. It's like not like you're an alien. Yes, this is gonna hurt. This wind, this coldness, that you're not comfortable. Right now, like I'm not comfortable. What did I do? I had to get up. I had to get something to put my feet on because they started tingling.
I
It's
noticed that, yeah.
so it's like, but I think to myself, like, I just smile in there when I'm looking for something because I'm like, oh my gosh, at least I'm not feeling bad because this chair's, if I had a wheelchair right now, like, I'd have to make you guys, like, move this table and move it, or maybe find a different place. And it's like, those thoughts are just always in my head. Like, if I had a chair, like, if I needed my walker, I know exactly where I'd put it, right by the couch. And it's these wires. And that's what motivates me because I'm like, oh my gosh, like,
Could be worse.
yes.
I think people need to like not only hear that, but understand your reality makes you be grateful for your like what you have.
Yeah.
And I think I'm guilty of it. For sure I am. Mm-hmm. I have a 65-inch TV. It's warm as hell in here. I have a nice car. Like,
Right.
and I bitch about stuff. It's like, come on, Kev,
We
figure
all
it
do.
out. Figure
We
it
all
out.
do.
But I feel bad when I do because it's hard to hit yourself on the head and say perspective.
It is.
Right.
You've done 115 podcasts with a bunch of people who have it like so much different than you, and they have different things that they're dealing with, and they've dealt with such tough stuff. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know how to get perspective sometimes. So hearing that moves me, and I want you to know that. And I love you.
I think
I
that's
love
the
you
most
too.
empowering thing about your story, about this whole thing is perspective on
Yeah.
what at any moment something like that
Amen.
drastic can happen and change your life forever.
Yeah.
And that's
And-
my motivation.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've that's literally
That
that's
is
one of our
my
main.
her motivation is my motivation in the sense that
And her appreciation is my gratitude. Like I'm always just like the way you appreciate like your body and like when you are like you recognize it and you'll say it to me like
yeah.
like I'm automatically just like grateful because of her appreciating something that I lack. And it's like not that it's just it's a perspective. Like when I wash my face and brush my teeth, I no word of lie. I'm not saying this to sound like Mother Teresa. Thank God. I'm like, God, thank you for all of this water. Like sometimes I'll just be like, oh my God, thank you, God. Like to myself, but like it's because I mean it, and I think of people without it, and it's would they look at me and be like, oh, I'm really happy? Like no, they'd probably want to smack it out of my hand. But it's like with this situation, it's something so attainable and so something people have to do every day that it's like you don't know how good it makes me like feel and like the faith that like is assured in
And the reason I get a little bitter about this sometimes too, and I've told Bella this, is that I wanted to recognize and flip the switch to where earlier I was like, I have it way better than she has it right now. And I need to use this to my advantage. And because it was kind of in the dark a lot, I wasn't able to get that. I wasn't able to get that motivation that I needed. So I kind of just sat with it, sometimes buried it, not on purpose. It just happened. Life happens. Like I was busy college student, fighting injuries of my own, and then pre-med and trying to just grind. But I think the thing that sat with me for so long was that I wasn't appreciating the fact that I even get to get up and walk with my right side.
Right.
And that sat so heavy on my heart. And then when I finally, and again, you would think that that would happen right away. And it makes me kind of like sad to say that it didn't. It took 3 years of us meeting, 3 years after the accident for me to fully appreciate what I still have and what she doesn't. And people have asked, well, so what happened to you? And I'm like, I had a bruise on my knee. But do you know how hard it is to say that?
Yeah, no.
And
I
then,
remember you telling me that. Like,
and
you're
then,
like, and I was wearing a knee pad, dude. Like she was like literally like.
And the hardest part is that I came out of that unscathed. So, and especially now, a lot of my thoughts that I've been having in life and where my purpose is and where I'm going, that plays such a big role because it's like for 2-3 years, I was feeling like subconsciously, and I didn't even recognize it all the time, like crap about myself because I'm like, Allie, you got out of this okay. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to fulfill your life's purpose, whatever that is, through this accident? And that's what I'm still sitting with to this day, but at least now I am aware.
And actively searching.
And actively searching all the time.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
think
motivation
that goes
for
back
me.
to too, when you were talking about how like surround yourself with, people. Imagine if they were all like asking you how you were. And I mean, that plays a role into because you didn't even have to think about me. I mean, life went on in the softball world. But Bella's world stopped, literally stopped in its tracks, and you were like with that, and like I know it was hard and it's difficult, but like I think that way made you have to do it all on your own, and that's how I had to do it too.
Bella knows this, but I've battled injuries my entire life. It's almost a joke in my family. Like every season of every sport I ever played, I always had an injury. But that was just normal for me. It was like, oh, like my parents would always say, Allie, like what you're doing is amazing. Like you're doing great. And I'm like, yeah, duh. Like, isn't that what everyone's supposed to do? You're supposed to just get down and get back up again. Like, duh. So I always had that. And then
meanwhile, I went through my whole softball career. I mean, like zero injury.
So it was pretty much like my entire life.
You were a tank.
Yeah.
She was jacked. But my entire life, I had never gotten to the highest point that I could thought I could with my athletic career. And it still sits with me to this day, and I'm trying to let that go. I think that's the next step of this process. But it was hard for me, especially like all the injuries. And then my biggest injury was high school before going into college. And I slid into second base, and my ankle turned sideways.
Which is ironic.
And I got up, and never in my life, in all my injuries that I had, did I feel, and I've actually never mentioned this to you, and I'm like getting chills thinking about it. I was on my knees on there, and all of a sudden I just like closed my eyes, and I saw like this person, like as if it was like a bright light, and it was like weirdly like God or something. And I like opened my eyes. I was like, this is going to be life changing. And I remember walking off that field being like, I am not going to be the same after this. And then months went by, and what happened was they misdiagnosed it. It actually was torn, but they said it was a sprain. And I remember saying to my high school coach, hey coach, I'm sorry, but I can't run. It still hurts, and I don't want to be hurt for college. And he yelled at me, and he's never yelled at me, and I cried, and I've never cried in front of a coach. And I was just like, I'm telling you on a deeper level, something is wrong with me. I ended up going back months later, tore the entire ankle because they didn't fix the outside. The inside got torn. That was my life-changing injury. Then I had to get another surgery, didn't really play college freshman year, sophomore year, got done the second surgery. And you had, Alan had asked me earlier, was there a point in my life that I kind of woke up before this accident?
Yeah.
And I herniated my disc after my second surgery. So I had a second surgery prior to sophomore year. And the book that I had read was Way of the Peaceful Warrior. And it was about this old Olympic, he wanted to be an Olympic gymnast. He went to Cal Berkeley, I think, for gymnastics, and he was in a really tragic motorcycle accident. Said he wasn't going to walk again. All this stuff, ended up overcoming it, and some of it they say is like fiction, but a lot of it's real. And what happened was he met like this guru who pretty much talked about all this mindfulness stuff that we had talked about prior to coming on here, and it changed his perspective. And then he went on to the Olympics. And
This was before the accident?
this was before the accident.
Okay.
This was after my second surgery. I read this book because I was like, I need motivation. My friend was like, Allie,
Oh, I see.
I just read this book. You should read it. And I didn't think anything is the most life-changing book for me. And after that, I was like, okay, I'm ready to go into the sophomore year. This is before this accident too. So hungry, finally going to overcome this injury. Then my nanny had passed away, and unfortunately for me, but fortunately in greater
Right.
perspective, I had found her. And that was something that was really hard for me, and it was really heartfelt for me, and we were really close, and it was for a greater purpose, but we don't need to get into that. But so that hit hard with me. Then season's about to start. Well, what happens? Allie's ankle gives out doing like a hang clean to front squat, and I herniate my disc. And
So
and it was over.
The first game when
So when I was playing you, that was like my first year back.
like yeah, so she like
It was the first-
battled,
And
finally
I'm
got
back. I was finally got back, and then that happened.
Like
My goodness.
I know, and I didn't know all this. So like when we first like talked, and she's like, I don't know how to tell you this. Like I am no one to say like I know what you're going through because I don't know what you're going through at all. But I have things to say to you that I think will help you because I dealt with like so many annoying nagging injuries and you know this was misdiagnosed and but like blah 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 blah.
So I
She was trying
understood
to
it.
relay to me like.
I get you, but I don't want you to
Yes,
think
and-
I'm
but
pushing
she-
it because
yeah,
I
and
want
she
to really
didn't-
get you first.
And it
before
wasn't like I was trying to feel you out, and I was like, okay, oh yeah. And then it wasn't until you said, like, fine. It may have even been the next conversation we had. You collected your thoughts, and you were like, and then like finally, like as soon as I was as healthy as I've been in college, and I was like, no, really? Like I get it now. Like the collision happened, and then that's a whole another world of mental injury, like
Right.
emotional injury, and it's like that was
Did you play differently after?
Yeah, and it's just again, and no one on my team at the time too in college had ever seen me healthy, so no one ever knew. So I was already kind of struggling with that mentally.
I had a girl on my team that reminds me
that
of that. Yeah.
when I was younger, all the people I grew up with, they're like, oh, you were one of the best shortstop we've ever seen. And then I get to college and I could never be that person. And then trying to come back. So I was already dealing with that. So then to have this accident on top of it. So not only was I struggling mentally because, you know what, I wanted to prove myself as everyone
Right.
does. And I felt like I deserved that, all the hard work.
And your body just kept.
And now, not only did I have to do it for myself, I needed to do it for her. And
Yeah.
you would think that'd be a good thing to a point, but it actually really was tough.
yeah.
And it put a lot of weight because not only was I dealing with pressure from my coaches, pressure from
Right.
my teammates, because, yeah, you're going to worry about what your teammates think of you.
Right.
Pressure from the people back home that thought I was supposed to be
Right.
some great softball player. And
Right.
here I am injured every year, never doing
Right.
something. And then all of a sudden it clicked. And I was like, you know what? That doesn't matter. Like, I can walk.
Yeah.
And that was like a breaking point for me. So I played not that great. And then as I was going into senior year, I was finally clear where I was like, you know, I'm going to be in the best shape of my life. I'm going to do this for her. And then first fall ball game, like, I don't even remember. I
And
think
I
my shoulder
remember-
popped out. And then I was like, oh, I need to do this again. Like, and Bella's like, all right, yeah, keep going.
Yeah,
so
because she was like, I want to play for you so bad. I want
Like,
to
I wanna do this and I wanna do it
Little
well.
did she know I'd been manifesting for the last like year and a half, like, and all of a sudden softball just became something I could no longer identify with, nor never wanted to, because I know how easy it is to get your identity stripped away from you when it's materialistic. And
so I wanted something for her that she didn't even want anymore.
That might be the deepest thing I've ever heard.
No,
in my
but
entire life,
no,
what
but
you just
so,
said.
but you know what?
I gotta
blown
pee.
away.
I gotta pee. I might not come back either.
Right.
No, but
I'm out.
no, and the thing is,
No, you can stay for us.
the reason I'm not as shook about that is because she said that to me before. Because the craziest thing, I didn't know that. I didn't know that she had already peeled off that part of her identity because she's accepted. This is my fate. I'm gonna keep saying I'm gonna play again because I want to believe that I can because miracles happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But she's like, I'm not dumb.
yeah, I remember I said
I
that
get
to
it.
you.
I get it.
I
Like,
said
I'm
that to
probably
you.
not going to play again, but I want people to believe that I am because I want to believe that I am.
Yeah.
And if you don't have hope, what do you
I
have?
said if I don't,
That's
but
powerful,
so, and the thing is, that was my senior year, and I didn't know that, and then I didn't really have a great year. Going into, I had the opportunity to attend grad school. It's all crazy how things happen.
I know.
Right.
And I wanted to do grad school because I was getting it paid for. I knew it was probably going to be the hardest thing I did in my life. And I was like, you know what? I'll get a 5th year to play softball. I'm going to do this for her. Did CrossFit, was in kick-ass shape, all this stuff. First fall ball season, someone slides into my knee at second base. At second base.
Yeah, it's
Someone slides into my knee and my knee dislocated. And then I took some time, really thought about my future, and
that's when you were
and that's
Can
when
I
I
ask
stepped
you-
away from the sport. And you know what? Before you ask that, the craziest part is going back to this peeling thing. I had called her and said, I am so sorry. And she was like, what's wrong? I'm like, I need to stop playing softball. And she was like,
and
instead
that
of
was like that was the first time we
talked about it.
talked. That was like the
and she goes, she laughs. I'm like, are you good? She's like, Allie, as a relieved as I am to hear that, I gave that up a long time ago.
yeah.
But she was like, I love you. And that was like probably the first time she was like, I don't even know you, but I love you.
I was like, I don't know you, but I love you. I was like, because the fact that it is very rare for someone to come to the realization that I felt you come to, and it was that materialistic idea versus the
Right.
just
Yeah. Versus the I am what I do versus I still am anyway.
Oh, that's what I've been
It's
struggling with recently.
Fire. That's so powerful. One thing I wanted to ask you, just totally little side tangent. When you had someone slide into your knee at second base, was that like scary for you? Because it's like again, like was that like a moment?
No,
What did that
because
feel like?
the thing is that I was just known to not be fearful at second. So when I did tag people out, I was never malicious to where I'd purposely try and tag people.
Yeah.
Sorry, good. But I had no problem going in the base path. Even after that,
yeah for the ball, because that's what they teach you. Is you go for the
weirdly,
ball.
and
So
the-
if it's in the base path,
you go.
a good shortstop's gonna
so
go.
even
right
after the
in.
accident, I didn't. But the thing is, even to this day, because I never did it enough, like sliding, I still am terrified to slide because of my injury.
Really.
And it's ironic because you're terrified to slide too. but-
Yeah. Oh well, if
but-
I'm on a softball field, like
it's funny how
anytime,
that
whether
works
I'm
out.
Speaking or I don't look at it the same way I used to. Like I'd be like, oh yeah, like I'd rip this thing up, and then I like the first place I look, no matter what, I'm over it, I'm good. But the first
look at
place I
second.
look at second, and I'm like, okay, could I see myself? No,
No,
and like
absolutely not.
But I think I could. I don't know. I might try it.
We'll
this
both try it
summer.
one day.
That
Right.
might be a thing
be
to
fun.
conquer. You know?
Yeah.
If you're
Honestly,
to
if we
chase.
yeah, because
summer,
I won't.
I haven't dove-
I haven't slid, and
I've dove to catch like a ball because like I didn't have the da power, but like I've never like dove since my accident.
We'll have to put
I have
some
to get
like
the
slip and
da,
slide or
da.
something, and we'll work with a slip and slide first, and then move
Right.
on from
Slip
there.
and slide first.
Yeah, please invite us to that. I want to.
Yeah,
I would
that'd be
love
fun.
to do that.
I'll host something.
I think
So
that'd
please
be like
do that
honestly,
party.
that'd probably be the most fun
We can
thing,
have
and
a
we'll probably
fundraiser.
both like cry afterwards.
That's our fundraising idea. We have a whole
Slip and
slip and slide. Is that like effed up though?
Come watch Bella
I don't-
Picard slide again.
that like
Come watch
I'll-
them slide into each other again.
hey, it's for a good cause.
Right.
It's for a good cause.
And you're really the only two who could say that it's messed
No,
up or not.
yeah,
right? So-
no, we have so many of these moments. Like,
Wait,
I've
is that
tried
effed
to
up,
trip
though?
her with my cane before, and she'll like stick her foot out to try and trip me. And she's like, "Oh my god, is that messed
I'm like,
up?"
but it's like funny too because when I met her brother for the first time, Julian.
Yeah, that was so.
If I wasn't me, anyone else would probably have been traumatized. The first thing Julian said was he like smiles at me, puts his hand out, and I'm like excited but nervous as
Yeah.
crap to like meet her family for
Of
the
course,
first time.
right.
Yeah.
I'm like, do they still hate me? But like,
Yeah,
you know.
they never did.
No.
And he goes, "Hey, I'm Julian. I heard you broke my sister's neck."
Jeez.
Like, of course, and he's like, his personality is like, and he's been there for me the most out of like I've lived with him in Florida for a while, so like. He gets on like my personality and how I
Yeah.
can get over these things. So he like
He didn't even
totally
know.
projected it on Allie.
He didn't
and I
even
was-
know that I had the same personality,
I
but it was like
yeah,
very
you were like-
ballsy. But
you
I
were
was
Very
like,
bold statement. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget what you were like. Yeah.
and then what was I gonna say? I was like, I had such a clever
How
comeback.
long have you been thinking of that one, Julian? Yeah.
Oh,
I literally
shit.
was
Did you
like-
say that?
No, but she came upstairs like
I was
10
like-
minutes later. We're like talking about.
I was like,
this
"What have you been
chapter
waiting
1.
3 years to shoot that joke at me, Julian?" And I
And then
Literally.
Allie was like,
I should have
"Should
said
I go
that.
downstairs and say that?" I was like, no.
Then it'll be
It's a
the
good
moment has passed.
It's a good icebreaker at least.
Right.
I know, right?
Are you so when we went to New Jersey with you?
Yes.
We were in the mall getting I think we were getting Chinese food on the way home.
Oh right. Oh yeah.
And for the first time ever, I was like, a little bit starstruck because 2 girls came up to her and they were like, "Are you Isabella?" And it was like we took pictures for her.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
are you ready for that if that happens? Like, have you guys talked about what happens when this thing blows up?
We've talked about it a little bit. Like
love
I'm
that he
like
said that.
I'm like
I
you
want
know,
that.
Yeah. And like
and the thing
that's
is,
what
here's
we're
the
pretty
thing.
much prepping for, I
Right.
think.
I know that there are a lot of people that say everyone wants to be someone people recognize, but then you get there and you hate it. But why would I eventually hate being recognized for something that at its core has so much, like has such a greater meaning? I don't think I'll ever be mad. Like I don't,
Because very few people
because if anyone could just see us and feel that and feel,
Yeah.
hey, this is what can come out of adversity,
Yeah.
I will never be mad about it. I don't care how many people, I mean, I'd love it, but like, I don't care how many people end up following her on Instagram or whatever. It's not about that. It's literally me and her, we have really no need for that. It's like
Yeah.
the reason we want to reach more people is because we want to touch more
the
people.
conclusions that we come to when we're just like chilling, just me and her, people would I mean, the things that we talk about and like it would change their lives more than a public appearance like from us because it's real behind the scenes and it's passionate in front of people and it's passionate behind the scenes and it's real in front of people. So it's like there's no escape avenue of not to get something out of this.
And
It's
having
like,
the outlet, like where you were saying, when you can't self-express, like you kind of like depress it down a little bit.
Right.
I think I almost want that. Like I want a greater platform to be able to
Right.
express my side too, because again, I think that that's going to be a really big stepping stone for mine and Bella's relationship and going forward. Because until I do, but there's still like 5% of me that doesn't view this as our story. And I know that the second that we can come out together, I mean, obviously it's her. Like I am very aware that people are always going to recognize her before they recognize me. But fair enough. Like she battled some tough shit.
right.
Oh, yeah.
But it wouldn't
But the thing is, I want it to get to the point.
You will always lose
Yeah.
that argument.
I know
Like,
you always, but I want it to get to the point where I feel comfortable enough to like bust her balls and be like, "Hey, this is my story too." But
Right.
I'm not there yet. But I would like that
And what
because I
I-
know that we got to a different level to
what
where
I
now we're
encourage
impacting.
her with is like where our story becomes our story is like a year and a half out. Like this is how like what I realized like whoa is if she didn't do in everything that she did, especially when you like read that book, like trying to like all these things, like if she wasn't who she is, then I wouldn't have recovered the way I have, because the things that you've said, just even your presence in my life, like I said, not just that girl, helped me heal a lot.
Right.
Mentally. It was a mental part of my brain that was being held captive by those what if thoughts. And then finally I was like, oh, that's Allie. Poof.
And you
like,
couldn't hear it from anyone else. It has to be her.
and then it opened up a whole region of just energy, motivation, just like thoughts, and that's kind of what like those things do, though.
Yeah, and you
They do. It's like
I missed you, Bella.
everything.
I missed you.
It's like
and thing is, we've talked about too, Bella and I. Clearly, we have a lot of deep one-on-one conversations over here. When we're together, we have to utilize our time wisely because we live so far apart. But
we do.
she had told me, and it made me feel great too, knowing that because she did know me as a person, it almost helped her definitely recover more. Because instead of wondering, like, does she even care? Like, and everyone's
Yeah.
gonna feel that a little
I
bit. Everyone's
felt-
gonna feel that bitterness and jealousy, and
That's in the beginning.
and
yeah.
she definitely, and she couldn't say that. I would say she's a liar if she didn't feel that, because
Yeah,
of
no,
course
in
that's
the beginning.
everyone.
Oh, turn.
Yeah, and
Ask some of my therapists.
yeah, she talked that shit. Yeah, some of the things she was probably saying about me. Little
Especially
did
when I
she,
came out of surgery.
but like little did she know that I was, and she didn't even know this. I was pre-med trying to be an orthopedic surgeon,
Yeah.
fixing people that
So it's-
fixed her. She had no idea. So like literally, my heart's in
it's
such a
those
good place.
little things. Like,
And then you find that out, and she's just like, instead of hating me, it's kind of like,
whoa.
wow, like you can help me heal.
Yeah.
This is badass. Like
I
hell
thought
yeah.
I thought you were like a graphics major. And, like,
Did you?
Yeah,
Did
like,
I
I
look
don't
like
know.
one?
Just like
We're
everyone.
sorry to any graphics majors
I-
right there.
no,
No,
no.
offense. I'm just kidding.
I don't even know if that is a major.
Right.
But like Just
You're
like I
hilarious.
thought you were just like I didn't realize how like because if you were that or any other major like that wouldn't benefit
Right.
or even help like the feelings I needed to like have just like go away. And
Did that impact your decision to be an orthopedic surgeon or try to be?
No, she was thinking
You were
of that.
already on that
yeah,
course?
that's what I
Interesting.
mean.
I had
so,
wanted to be, and this is what I'm struggling with. It's actually recently. I put a lot of thought into it too. I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon since I was probably 11. I'd faced injuries early on, but like funnily, like I don't, is that the word? Hysterically.
Yeah. Funnily.
I like
Oddly
funnily.
enough.
Oddly
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Ironically, either way. Whatever.
Ironically, I such
I just got it. I didn't get
as funny as it is.
get it.
Now the show gets it's a little cheesy now, but when I was younger, Grey's Anatomy was like one of the first shows I ever came to love watching, and it was just because there was this powerful female, like lead main character, gonna be a surgeon. And I was like, Mom, I want to do that.
Right.
I mean, and then as the years went on, I had injury after injury, and I was like, I want to be the person
Who helps the
to
people?
help these people, right? And
Makes sense.
then this
Do what you need the
accident
most.
happened, and I didn't think that there was anything else I'd want to do. I was like, I need to do this. I need to help people like her. And again, I'd wanted to help people like me, and now I'm like, no, I want to help people like you and me. I don't want anyone to ever feel as low as I felt during my injuries. If I can even just like give them a smile and be like a surgeon and be like, hey, it's going to be okay. If I could just do that one thing to make their process go a little smoother,
Right.
and then obviously fix them from the inside out, I would feel fulfilled in life. And then again, this accident happened, and even more intensely, I was like, I need to do this. But now I work with orthopedic surgeons, and they're great, and I've learned so much from my research experience with them. But ironically, as this time with them has gone on, I've had more time to grow with Bella. And I was talking about with her how I had like this weird, like kind of like mind-blowing vision that I want to do surgery, but then when it comes to thinking about having her in my life and being able to make an impact through this experience in the same way that I thought I was going to impact patients in the future through my experience. And then I am just struggling with the fact that I might not have time to impact people through this collision and only have and then just be like, oh, well, I had some injuries and I ran into someone and now she's good, so let me help you with this surgery. Like, it's become deeper than that. And I'm struggling with whether going into that profession is going to give me as deep of a meaning as I had originally thought since I was 10 years old.
My goodness.
So for that identity, like losing that recently, or I'm not even losing it, I'm just questioning it, and whether maybe becoming a physical therapist and then being the person that actually helped me and her get through those mental times, or maybe didn't. Maybe it's just, or maybe we wish there would have been a little more help there. Is that my purpose? And you have more time doing that, and you can impact people's lives just as intensely, if not more, because you're spending more time with them. And then me and her can still do talks and impact people. But then I go back, I'm like, well, Allie, you've always wanted to do this, and there's greater purpose to it. So
You're trying to figure out how to have the biggest impact.
Exactly.
What vehicles will bring the biggest impact?
It has nothing to do with the money, because I'm fully aware that becoming an orthopedic
Yeah.
surgeon is going to make a lot more money than a physical therapist. And no one's going to get it. Like, it's just in my mind, it's like no one can understand how much of an impact I thought becoming an orthopedic surgeon was going to be.
Right.
And how intensely I'm fighting whether I'm trying to break out of this little shell I put myself in, break through it, and there's something greater past it. Or if maybe I think I'm in a shell, but I'm really not.
Right.
So
You've evolved since then. You know more than you used to.
So
know,
I'm kind of
right?
like, am I trying to get out of this little box I put myself in, or am I not in a box that I just think I am, and I just need to like turn around and be like, oh wow, there's a whole opening over here. I'm just looking at the two walls in front of me. Like, I'm deciding whether where I am at now is because I'm trying to make a change forward, or if I'm just kind of like jumbled and I'm just a little confused, and I still want to do what I
think
thought.
you're jumbled and confused because you're finding yourself
Right.
more every
Yeah.
day,
And I had
you're comfortable with knowing what you always were saying, because new things are kind of like
I was always so sure. and then this accident happened, and then
Yeah.
the more me and her grow and do these things, the less sure I am that I want to. And it's a lot, and I respect so many people who go into med school. It's especially being an orthopedic surgeon. It's 8, 9, 10 more years of my life,
Absurd,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
and I was
It's
willing.
crazy.
I'm
Thank God.
like
for
I
'em,
would
but-
love to do that. I just think that it has nothing to do with the fire in my belly to do that. I just think that the fire might be facing a different direction
Yeah, I
now, and I'm
think-
coming
Right.
to terms with that.
I
And
think
every
the-
time I see Bella and talk to Bella, I'm like, I got this feeling where I'm like, we're gonna
I
do
got this
something.
feeling.
We're gonna do
Do
something.
you think that's why? And we talked in the preamble a little bit. You said like you really, really want to spend so much more time around her.
And I want to, and I know that I like just want to be around her because her energy's so good, and we
Right.
feed off each other so
Yeah.
intensely.
Do you think it's subconsciously because you think if you spend more time, this vision will become clearer?
Yes, and I think that now that you're saying it is a fault, and that's what we just talked about in the car
We
on the way
were.
here. That I need to really go in, and Bella's done that. Bella's had a lot of, unfortunately, time to sit down and think about this stuff when she couldn't walk.
Yes.
So what
lot
I
of
need to do
time.
now is like learn from her, and that's the greatest thing. It's like we learn from each other all the time. She got hurt, but like the things that
Yeah.
I would not be the same person if I didn't have this.
Yeah.
So now I need to recognize that I need to
so
really
weird.
sit with myself.
Yeah.
And really, the thing is, you know what I think I'm doing? I'm thinking, ooh. Oops. Trying to find my things in the outside world, outside objects, whether they're people
Yeah.
or music or thoughts. Because
Yeah.
even those are inanimate. They're not you. So I really am like in the process of becoming more aware and digging deeper down there.
And that's what's so cool is we know we're at that stage, and that's why, you know, this is the step before the next step, you know, before we can like really do it.
I know
It's-
you got some real
Yeah,
quick
go,
for
go.
the listeners. Like I might be the most mentally exhausted I've ever been in this because it's like we're in this echo chamber of what this isn't. I don't know how to even explain it.
Yeah, we were literally this is it.
We're
Like,
in this circle and we haven't left the circle because
Yeah.
the circle. You know what I
It's
mean?
here.
There's no
Yeah.
end. It's just-
you guys are trapped.
you know what I mean? Though it's like I don't want to step out of the circle because this is what their reality is.
Yes.
It's such a high.
And like we've
It
been
is.
pulled into the reality for the conversation. Does that
Come
make
on
any
in,
sense?
guys.
Does that make any sense? Your hands are the coldest ever of all time.
By the way,
I
it's
know, I'm
freezing in
freezing
here.
in here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cold as hell in here.
no, you're good. My hands just always get cold.
I'm kind of cold too.
If I might throw out an olive branch here, I think that Bella shakes your snow globe, so to speak. So for the listeners, I always use this analogy. Like everything you think you know, when you listen to the Hyperconscious podcast, that's kind of our goal is to stir the pot, like shake the snow globe
I
up.
like
Everything you
that.
think you know, it's still there, but it's kind of in the ether. And then when you're in solitude, personal growth is personal. When you're in solitude, things will land. And then you'll make distinctions that you didn't have before. And then that fire that you clearly have, by the way, clearly.
Yeah.
You're very hungry to help people, to change the world, to do these things. And we talked a lot in the preamble. You're going to have more and more clarity and more direction each time the snow globe gets shaken. Every time Kevin and I hang out, I shake his snow globe every
And
single time.
I shake your snow.
No,
globe.
and that's why
I love it. Shaking the snow globe. You do, though. You definitely
But-
do.
No,
and
I
that's-
know, yeah.
And that's what I've been coming to terms with too. I want to be surrounded by more people that do that for me. And
Right.
my family's great and my friends from home are great and they're doing that for me now. Like I needed what they've given me since I've moved back home, I needed. But now I'm at a point where I need to
Your dream team.
we
Yeah,
need
you need a
we need
dream
to like
team.
I need a mentor on a different
Yeah.
level to like understand. I need someone, and right now
Yeah.
Bella's the only person who gets me on the deepest possible
yeah.
level.
And I truly
And she
do,
gets
like,
it, and which is why I think it frustrates me when she can't talk.
Right.
Because I'm like, I need you
okay.
right now.
Yeah.
Right.
So you don't feel understood.
But you'll also find
But she
that-
so she understands me, but it's just like I need you. But
But
the
a
thing
lot-
is, I think
yeah.
I need to take
Right.
that energy and stop trying to get that through someone else
Yeah.
and look internally
gotta
and really
explore it.
sit down there and
Yeah.
actually really dig deep down in there and like
Exactly.
take my little
Exactly.
flashlight, go through. Like I got a lot down there that
It's creaky.
I appreciate how honest you're being. Right? It's like
I'm
This
actually
is-
very.
No, this is
when
how
when this is over. Ask Bella. I'm gonna overthink everything. Be like,
no,
why did
no,
I just
no.
Tell
you're,
everybody
you're doing
that.
amazing. But I appreciate how vulnerable you're exploring right now. Like that's what you're
Yeah.
doing.
I
right?
would never
Live.
That's what
be
I-
this vulnerable. I mean, my last relationship, he was probably one of the biggest people to
Yeah,
break
you
me
were
out of this
open,
vulnerability shell because, again, I grew up with a lot of guys, twin brother.
Oh, yeah.
Had to kind of be tough. Like that
Right.
was just my
Yeah.
exterior. So then I got a little crack of vulnerability through that. My family helps me, but this accident has made me more vulnerable than, and because you know what?
Same.
Why care? Why care
That's
about
what
the
I came
vulnerability?
to.
Right.
And you know what? The thing is, the things that make us untethered soul, but I don't know the exact quote, but like the things that make us feel the most uncomfortable are the worst parts of ourselves that we know we need to fix. And if
Right.
we just keep protecting them
And pretending they're not there.
and pretending they're not there and shoving them down, they're never going away.
Exactly.
So
Right.
this accident, without this, I would have never come to the fact that I would listen to that book
Right.
and recognize that my vulnerability is actually my biggest weakness
Yeah.
because I can't be honest all the time with how I
Right.
feel.
Well,
And
you can't make decisions based on false data,
Yeah.
based on self-delusion, based on things you're not even aware of. It's not
Yeah.
just what
That's
you
so
see in the
true.
mirror that matters. It's what you're not seeing that someone
That's
else like
so
Bella
true.
can show you. It's huge. And I,
love
think
you.
that, like,
Love you too.
the greatest thing ever. The greatest thing ever. All right, I'm going to pee on that note. Kevin, ask your next question.
So we're coming up on an hour, so I want
Oh yeah.
to make sure.
Oh wow, sorry.
No. I just want to respect your time. You've already been here for 2.5
Keep
hours.
it going. Like I love these
Um,
conversations.
I want you to plug everything that's going on. I know you have like a new series
Yes.
with other people at Plug Away.
Yes. So, well, first thing I want to say is
I love you too.
Everyone, I love you too. I think the first thing I want to say is everyone watch chapter 1
On YouTube.
on YouTube. Type in Isabella Picard. It's chapter 1.
The
I'm
collision that
doing-
changed our lives.
Yeah, it's me and Allie just like pretty much elaborate on like the actual like incident and like the short months after. Definitely watch that. Also, Allie's Instagram, Allie Bradian. Do you want to spell it?
ALLIE, B as in boy, RAD as in dog, IAN.
And you can also, like, if you scroll down, you can actually see she wrote some really, really powerful posts, like, in correlation with that chapter series. So it's really cool. You should
That was
check
the
it out.
first time I'd ever
Yeah.
been vulnerable about the situation,
Yeah, so
and
it's,
let
like,
alone on a
deep.
public level.
Yeah. So also, my Instagram at Isabella Picard. I have a Twitter, Isabella Picard, and a Facebook page at Bring Back the Right Side.
I will link all of those
And our email.
below.
Oh,
Our
yeah.
To
email, bring
hammer-
back the
Bring
right
back-
side at gmail.com.
Ooh,
That's
ooh,
yeah.
I
that's,
like that.
That's our like.
I watched chapter 1. I actually watched chapter 2 as well.
How crazy was that? She got squished by a piano.
It was insane, and her shoes, like
the clogs. It literally made that much of
Yeah,
a
crazy.
difference.
the whole thing. It was a whole thing. But I can definitely attest to, because there's like, let's be real. There's not much when you're prepping for a podcast. There's not much out there when it comes to you two, other than that,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So I really enjoyed, especially your dynamic, and I like it even more in person because we get to see it in person. But I can definitely attest to episode 1 and to being dope AF.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Very powerful. I
you
watched
so
chapter
much.
1. I didn't watch chapter 2 yet.
Get on that.
Chapter 1 I did.
You're-
It's crazy.
I'm behind.
You're behind.
I'm
It
behind.
is so
Slacking.
crazy.
Right.
Anything you have before?
Are we trying to ask our questions?
Yeah, we got to ask our questions.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, so I've already asked you, probably twice,
Right.
but I'm going to ask anyway, both of you, because who knows if it's changed since, right?
Right.
We've been put on this earth, this miracle, 1 in 400 trillion, I
Something
believe,
like
is
that,
the
yeah.
odds of being born. What do you both, separately and together, hope to accomplish before you die? You want to start? We'll start with Allie, because she was trying to get Bella to start.
Ah,
Yep, I saw it.
no, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's weird, and I feel like this is a really horrible answer, but it's more of a feeling. It's just I have like this, and again, I get it when I'm around Bella and when I talk about like, or I think about what me and her could do in order to impact people. I have such this like warm fire, and it's not like a burning. It's like a love fire, like in my stomach
That
to
you can
where
roast a nice marshmallow.
I just want to be able to help and spread love and have like my legacy. I don't know what the word would be.
Yeah,
Like, when
like-
I leave this earth, just honestly to be like, that person made me feel better by being in her presence than when she left. Like her energy and her
love
happiness, like I felt something there. So I don't need to do it. I don't need to make a lot of money. I don't.
Right.
But if I can leave a room every time and just have someone feel my energy and like at least allow them to get something out of it, then that's like my purpose. And I think that's what I'm struggling with what I want to do with my future, because I want to impact the most people possible. And I don't know which route I'm going to be able to do that.
I think the more you hang out in the pool, the clearer it'll become, for sure.
Very, very true.
Nice.
Yeah, right. Not
It's gonna
bad.
be his post tonight.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I
pool.
like
The more you hang out in the pool, the clearer it'll become.
that. If your goggles aren't foggy, because
You got to spit in them.
And make sure no
Is
one
that what
pees in your
people
pool.
do?
Yeah, that's what professional.
I don't pee in the pool.
I do.
No, I said make sure no one else pees in your pool. It's a metaphor for people that are toxic.
Not that I'm
Oh.
defensive.
Don't worry about it.
He wasn't talking about the real pool. He was talking about like the
metaphorical,
hypothetical.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
the hyperconscious pool.
Yeah, the
I want to leave this earth with, when they think of me, they understand that their choices and who they are and their opinions and their beliefs are theirs. I want them to own it, and I want them to live it, because then they'll leave the same thing that I'm envisioning leaving.
I feel like it's changed. I think it
Yes.
evolves as you evolve, and I think that's the way it should.
Yeah, because what I thought before, which is it's definitely helping people. That's the main message.
sure.
But what specifically I want people to see and be like, what is that girl? Like, what's going on?
What's
I
her
want
thing?
I want them to realize that you just have to own who you are. Like,
Yeah.
own it in even the worst friggin' situations you can ever imagine happening. Own it, because if you don't own it, and we owned it, we bought it, we rented it. I mean, like that. This is like the extreme level of like but that's why I need you, man, because without you, people won't see that. Like, wow, yeah, they did own it. Like,
Right,
oh,
right.
like
They
it
owned the whole
happened.
thing.
Right. Yeah.
It happened. There was pain, there was sadness, there was frustration, there was anger, there was bitterness, but we owned all of those feelings, and it wasn't until just we like kind of like met where we could finally own that last sliver of pie of feelings that
Yeah, and I've got that from you too. And again, I think people would be crazy not to recognize, okay, yeah, you're overcoming adversity. You're doing it with a happy mindset. But again, you're owning it and unapologetically owning it.
Yeah.
And just being so honest and vulnerable, and that's allowed me to do the same.
Yeah.
So
Wow, yeah. Hey.
so and I think, and it's crazy because I hope that from your, like, our accident, well, I'll say
Yeah.
it now. We'll
Yes,
start here.
it
Our
is.
accident.
Our accident.
That's what people get out of it. That, okay, but she's doing it nicely, but at least she's being her full authentic self and allowing the world in, because you didn't have to let the world in on
No,
that.
I didn't really
You didn't even have to
let
let
him in.
You didn't even have to let me in on that.
No.
And then by
No.
letting people in, though, you're not only touching them by saying, wow, she's a badass, like, she's cool, she's funny, and she's got a lot of motivation in life, but you're also allowing people to be like, hey, it could be way effing worse.
Exactly.
Way worse.
Yeah.
And so even me, and I've thankfully been aware of like when I complain about stupid little things, and I'm like, you know what? And it's nice to have you in the back of my mind being like,
Yeah.
it could be freaking worse. So
I like it. I think that's what I want to leave. Just people owning themselves and defining themselves with non-materialistic things. Because when you put your hope and your faith and your love into a material object, oh gosh,
gonna
without
go
root
away.
beer, this is everything. I won't be able to get through the day, and all of a sudden I spill it everywhere, and there's none left. Would all my hope, all my faith and love be gone that quick?
Right.
Yes. So like that's
Yeah,
what I
and
want
that's what
people to
happened.
know
Yeah,
is
it's-
have that faith inside of you, that thing that's always talking, because that never changes, whether you're
And-
paralyzed or not, whether your root beer falls on the floor or if it's right here. It doesn't change.
And it's going to be hard for people because, again, unless you're in like a tragic accident like this, and
Right.
Alan had mentioned earlier, it's hard for people to really get things unless they go through tragedy. That's just unfortunately how it happens. And
But
I like going back, like I wish I could have, I mean, I'm sure you could too. You wish like before this happened, but maybe not because we wouldn't be here, that I had been prepared already and known and been sure of who I was at my core. So that no matter what happened, I'd be fine. And now I'm getting there. Now
Oh,
I think
yeah.
we both have gotten almost to the point, well, I'm not even close, but I'm getting there.
you're close.
To where if something else tragic ever happens,
Yeah.
I'd be the same person and feel that in my heart.
That's
Where after this, I didn't feel like that, like the accident. But now, and I wish everyone could feel that. But again, it's hard to really get that. Like, hey, You need to find yourself, who you are, because crap's going to happen, and you want to make sure that you're the same person, if not better, afterwards.
Amen.
Powerful.
Retweet, retweet, retweet. Try to say that 3 times. Retweet, retweet, retweet.
Retweet, retweet, retweet.
Retweet,
You
retweet,
said
retweet.
retweet.
Did I?
I'm not even
wait,
gonna try.
retweet.
I think I did it right.
I've heard toy boat, toy boat, toy boat. That's hard.
So this is a really good segue. Well,
off
not
the
the
rails.
retweet thing. Yeah, right. Grabbing onto that part of you that's bigger than you, and it's bigger than the materialistic stuff, and that no matter what goes on around you, this part of you never changes. I have that. That's why I wear this around my neck. It's the North Star. It's the brightest star in the sky. It never changes. It's a guide. It's always there. So my question for all of the guests is, through all of we grow, we evolve, we change, the whole world changes. But what about you never changed? If you really dig into your past, your present, and your future, what part of you is never going to change? And either one of you can go first.
That was the realization I came to when I was paralyzed, and I said, nothing's the same. I can't eat outrageous bars. I'm on a special diet. I don't want to be funny. I'm miserable. My friends have a different look when they see me, blah, blah, blah. I said, what is the same? I'm talking to myself. I used to do that when I was moving. I used to talk to myself on first base. All right, gonna go. I used to all the time. Oh my gosh, and I'm paralyzed, and I'm talking. Oh my gosh, this is the soul. Oh my gosh, we have to pay attention to that.
That was literally me on the drive up here when I was listening to The Untethered Soul. I swear, legitimately, I was like this goofy little person in my head. I'm like, I'm here.
Yes.
I'm aware. This is
and
great.
that's what I realized, and that's what I realized never changed, was my personality in that little voice, and the just weird little thoughts and stuff that little did I know could get weirder and more elaborate, but it wasn't until I started paying attention to it. And yeah, so like now I can be certain if anything would ever happen again, or anything, it's just like I have that bell. This is different, but this is you're still talking to yourself.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, I'll make this shorter because we're getting cut on time. But I think my thing that never changed was, since I was young and my parents always said that this was my word too, like limitless was always my word. And I feel like depending on how people use it, it gets a little more cheesier than not. But like for me, I think that no matter what, my entire life, that no matter what happened, I was like, you can be limitless in this world if you manifest it. And I've learned that at a really young age, which is like great that I did, because I feel bad for people that haven't recognized that yet. So even after this accident, I think I was like, I can still do the things I wanted. And the fact that Bella thought the same way about herself, even though that she was in such a tragic place, was so big and healing for me, because I'm like, I'm limitless and I'm okay, but she is too. And she went through some way worse stuff. So now you're combining this limitless energy together, and you're like, we're going to do so much of this. We can do anything. It's just like, that's been amazing. So that was always there, but now it's like become like a bigger thing. It's not just about me anymore. It's like this hunger, drive to do, I'm doing something in life. I'm going to make an impact some way, somehow. And now I get to do it with her.
Yeah.
So
it's gonna be huge.
It's gonna be huge.
I can't wait when you guys are on stages or whatever it is.
That's what I just pictured. That's so weird you just said that, because when you said that, I was like, I just like pictured us.
I
like,
can
on a
see it for
stage,
sure.
And I pictured myself having to wear a dress, and I was like,
There's that
I know,
voice
that's
inside her
literally
head.
what was going through my mind.
You're
I'm
Bella.
like,
You can
No,
wear
you
whatever
dress
you want.
just like that.
I know.
You can wear whatever you want.
What did you say? I look like an 11-year-old boy.
Who forgot his?
Like getting ready for T-ball
right.
practice.
We're gonna take a picture after this.
Yes.
Yeah,
We
right.
will. We will have photo evidence. I do want to thank both you guys for doing this,
Thank
because you're both unbelievably courageous, and you're both super sweet, and you're just unbelievably impressive young ladies. And
Thank you.
I'm very grateful, especially to have you in my life, but now you as well. It was truly a pleasure getting to sit down and meet you.
No, thank you for
I'm
being
happy to share her
so
with the world.
welcoming. You guys like made the environment really nice. So I was
I
really
told
comfortable.
you they were great.
I know.
We appreciate that. Yeah, Alan had pizza and brown. It was basically a pizza party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had donuts and
No,
root
it
beer.
was
and-
adorable.
You have anything to say?
The last thing I want to say is I really like that limitless piece, that you really can do whatever it is that's in your heart. And sometimes you don't know exactly what that is, sort of
That's
like
my
where
biggest
Allie is right
fear
now.
in life. Yep.
But you will figure it
Not
out.
figure it
And I think that even the fact that you're searching, like I really do think you're going to do huge things. I sense a lot of fire in you, and right now maybe that fire doesn't have all of the direction. Use that fire to find it. Yeah, right. I think that hunger is
Literally.
everything. And that limitless thing you said, I just think you're going to do awesome. So I'm excited to see your future
Yes.
for sure. Both
are
of you.
so funny.
Both of you. And thank you both for coming
Thank
on.
you.
No, thank
Hell
you
yeah.
for having
We
us and
appreciate-
allowing.
This was healing
yeah.
for us.
I feel-
it was.
Remember
that.
what I said at the beginning? That was my intention for you
No,
guys.
and
Yeah.
and again, people like from a perspective like, oh, you're supposed to say that. I swear on my life, like I'm gonna read or listen to this again, like years from now, and be like, that was such a changing point in my life.
I agree with you. There was some time, yeah, and I like that we're.
And I'm not just
across
trying to
from
like
each
boost
other.
your guys' ego over here. You guys
No,
are
no.
great. and all
No,
that.
I'm serious.
No,
Like,
but no, seriously, like to be able
What
to
can you say it again
Yeah.
slower?
Yeah. Words
no,
of
but to
affirmation
be
is-
in
That's
this
gonna
is
be
the
like-
first
This
time.
is like
No,
therapy.
honestly, this is the first time I've been in a room with 3 people that are on the same like they I feel like you guys can understand what mental like
That's what I was
Wait,
saying. Like
come on.
we are
Right
in this
now.
circle that it's you brought us into your circle, and we, as much as I can understand what you guys went through, I'm there. There's certain things where I'm like,
we didn't even like get to the we're
I
not going to,
know.
but that's like what the
Yeah.
YouTube video is.
Yeah.
Chapter
Sure.
1, guys, go look at it, get a little
yes.
deeper
So
about
everything we talked about, I'll link all your
Yeah.
your social medias and YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed recording. We are going to eat some pizza and drink some root beer, and we will talk to you on the
and
next
eat a
one.
donut.
all is well and peace is good.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed our latest episode featuring Isabella Picard and Allie Bradian. Up next, we have a small talks episode on the word motivation. Thank you to Bianca for the suggestion. Real quick, friendly reminder. If you go to our website, thehyperconsciouspodcast.com, click the button that says join our mailing list. We will be in your email inbox Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with our hyperconscious morning minutes to start your days right.
So this next episode is on dedication versus motivation. Thanks again, Bianca. It's really talking more about how motivation is momentary and how dedication will actually last. I think motivation is a very misunderstood concept. Do not miss this one.
We hope you will enjoy.
Talk to you soon.
Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for listening to another episode of the Hyperconscious Podcast.
Going hyperconscious will absolutely change your life because if you understand why something is the way it is, now you have the power to change it. If you going hyperconscious with us has changed your life in any way, please share this episode with one of your friends because the more people that go hyperconscious, the better this world's going to be for everybody.
And if you would kindly leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, that would help us make more people hyperconscious, and we would be greatly appreciative.
Thank you.
Bye.